Hey everyone, welcome to the Laser Channel. My name is Greg, and as you just saw, this video is going to be on lighted acrylic LED signs. These are super popular and they're super cool. I'm going to share with you my exact settings that I used for this acrylic sign. I'm also going to show you how I got those settings and a couple things to look for when you're making your project. Before I start though, I do want to share with you, if you are following along at home, I do encourage you to read and understand the manual that comes with your laser machine so that you can operate it safely. The materials that I'll be showing you for this project are for the transfer method. I won't be applying anything directly to the acrylic, rather I'm going to place something underneath the acrylic. We're going to laser through the acrylic and hit that material underneath the acrylic. That material is then going to transfer the engraving up into the acrylic. Let me show you what the materials are for this project. Starting out at the table is this sheet of aluminum. This aluminum comes with any honeycomb panel. If you don't have a honeycomb panel yet, you can substitute this aluminum foil. I highly recommend buying the heavy-duty aluminum foil, folding it over twice, making sure that the dull side is facing up towards the laser module. The next thing that we'll place on top of this aluminum sheet metal is some black poster board. I picked this up from the Dollar Tree. It comes in a very large 20 by 30-inch sheet, so I can get a lot of these little squares out of one sheet of poster board. That goes directly on top of the aluminum sheet metal, and to top that off is some clear acrylic that goes down directly on top of that poster board. The machine that I'll be using for this project is the Atomstack A20 Pro, featuring a 20-watt laser module. This machine also comes with a very powerful air assist kit pump. With all the materials covered, let's talk about very briefly how this method actually works. The whole idea behind this method is our laser diode machines just are not able to directly engrave or cut clear acrylic. For that, this is where the poster board comes in. Our laser machines can engrave and cut this poster board, and it's that interaction which is key in this process. The laser will start engraving the poster board, heat that up, and it's that heat that is then going to transfer to the bottom side of this acrylic, leaving us with a texture that's kind of like an engraving. And it's that texture that when we place this acrylic on top of the lighted LED base, it will show up and it gives us the effect and the look we're looking for. Off camera, I made sure that my piece of clear acrylic is squared up to the rest of the machine, and to hold this in place, I'm going to use some blue painter's tape, and I'm going to place that blue painter's tape off to the side where I know I'm not going to have any engraving. I'll put one piece to either side. The last thing that I want to do while I'm in this area is to set the focus of the laser down to that black poster board. Now, this is one of the things that got me hung up early on as I was setting the focus to the top of the acrylic, and I actually need to be focused to the bottom of the acrylic where that poster board is. I'm ready to proceed into LightBurn, and the first thing that I did is I took a measurement of the acrylic piece that I have in the work area. I measured the width and the height, and using this tool layer number 1, I drew those dimensions out. Now I'm going to use this to frame out the laser to make sure that this is the draw path, and any image that I place in this work area must fit inside of this box. And when I have that image centered up on this tool layer number 1, I know that everything will be centered up perfectly to my piece of acrylic. If I zoom back, we'll see that I already have an image imported, but I don't want this image because it's going to try and engrave this faint outline because it thinks that this white background is part of the image. To get rid of that, I'm going to select the image, go to Tools, Trace Image, and I can hover my mouse over that image and I can scroll wheel zoom in and I'll start to see these little purple lines. That is going to be the result of this trace image, and everything looks pretty good except right here I see I have a very sharp corner and I don't like that. So I'm going to check out the smoothness here and I'm going to start bumping that up until I get a nice round corner. That leaves me with just the trace outline of the image. And now I can move my graphic inside. Now it put that graphic on this tool layer number 1, and the tool layers do not engrave. So to switch that, I'm going to select this tool layer 00. And now I have something that is set to fill. And I'd like to make my graphic image a little bit larger, something like that. Now, to center everything up without moving my orange outline of where the acrylic is in the work area, I'll first select the image, press and hold Shift, and I'll select my outline box second. I can navigate to the top and hit this bullseye button, and it will shift my graphic to the exact center. And I like the way this looks. Navigating over to this fill layer that is the image itself, I'll double click on that. And I found a speed of 50 millimeters per second at a power level of 20% is all that's needed. I have bidirectional fill selected, I have overscanning on, and I have crosshatch off. If I turn that on, we'll see that not only will it draw the laser from side to side, it will draw vertically. And I definitely want that off because once the laser passes over that poster paper, it burns it and it's kind of disposable. It can only be lasered once. If I go back over that poster board after it's already been lasered, I will not get any more engraving effect. I'm going to use lines per inch set at 300. They're offline. I saved this project. I'm going to highlight everything by clicking and dragging, or I can Control A to select everything, and I'm going to delete that out. If I come up to Laser Tools and click on Materials Test, we'll get this, and this will create a test card for you, and you'll need to do this if you're doing this for the very first time. I would recommend selecting a minimum speed of, let's say, maybe 10 millimeters per second and a maximum speed of, let's say, 80 millimeters per second. A minimum power of 10% looks good and a maximum power of, say, 50%. Now, this is a pretty big span, and I have this recommendation for you because I don't know if you have a 5-watt laser, a 10-watt laser, a 50-watt laser diode. So this will kind of cover the entire gamut. Just know that most of the things that I see people having issues is they're putting way too much power into the acrylic. I can check this out by clicking on the preview, and this is going to show the test grid. And here across the bottom is all of our power levels. And then here is all the speeds. Let me zoom in just a little bit on that. That looks a lot better. Now, what I like to see when I know that I've got this chart kind of centered up really good is I'll have an area down here at very low power at a very low speed. I won't see any mark, but yet when I get into this far corner, what I want to see is we're basically burning all the way through that poster board to that aluminum backer plate. And somewhere in the middle here is we're going to have a sweet spot of leaving an etched mark on the acrylic but not burning all the way through the paper or leaving black residue onto the acrylic. So here's the mini test piece that I had. Here's the lower power going higher in power, low speed, and increasing in speed. And I misspoke where I said I'd burn through up here. It's actually down here at the max power that I had selected at the lowest speed. And somewhere around in the middle is going to generally be our sweet spot. Along this path with the lowest power level, we can see that we're barely laser engraving through the black poster board itself, but yet when we get all the way over to this side, we see that we are burning through all the way through that black poster board. So what I want to look for is something about in the middle. And let me get this flipped all the way around. I know it's going to be a little bit hard to see. Here's what it looked like overlapped. And when I pull that away, we'll see that this shows up quite a bit better. And here, now this is going to be the back side. I've got residue from touching here. But on the back side, here's that residue that is stuck to the acrylic. And I scrubbed and scrubbed this with denatured alcohol. And this really doesn't come off all that good. But now when we come over here, I have a very light etching mark. And it gets a little bit better. And somewhere around in the middle here is what looks good. And this is where I came up with the power level of 20% at a speed of about 50. So again, your results are going to vary a little bit because your piece of acrylic might be a little bit different. Each of the laser modules on the market, they're going to be a little bit different. Your focus might be set slightly different than mine. And the material of your poster board might be slightly different. And it's because of all these little slight variables. This is why I can't tell you one setting is going to work for all the materials and all of the machines on the market. With that quick explanation complete, I am going to open that project one more time. And here everything's back. I'm going to double check that, yep, my speed and my power, that all looks good. I'm ready to power on my machine. Now, because we're putting this image on the bottom side of the acrylic, what I see on the screen here, the engraving we'll call it, will be on the back side. So when I look at the front shiny side of the acrylic, this is what I'm going to see. So there's not going to be any need to mirror the image. I'm just about ready to hit the start button. I'm really excited. I just want to pause for two really quick things. The first one, if you're enjoying this video, please give it a thumbs up. I really appreciate that. But on a very serious note, I do want to talk about safety. When I'm not filming these videos for you, I have an enclosure around my machine with a full exhaust system. But to share with you what's going on in plain sight for the camera, I don't run an enclosure. So I'll be wearing the green tinted safety glasses that come with the machine, and I'll also have an exhaust nozzle near the project area. With that covered, I'm going to jump back into LightBurn and hit the start button and see how this turns out. Let's hit the go button. The only thing left to do is to clean this up with a little bit of denatured alcohol and a fresh paper towel. So when I take a look at this, we'll put this on a white background. This does show up black because we do have the char from the poster board coming up, and that's exactly what we want it to do. You see this white outline because I don't know if you can see it on the edge, but the center of the poster board is white, and this is exactly what I want to see. I want to have a power level just high enough on that poster board so I'm only engraving about half the thickness. But with that covered, it's time to get some denatured alcohol on this paper towel. And let's start cleaning some of this up. And we'll see it in the first wipe that most of that soot and residue comes off that back side. I'm going to flip this over and just continue to gently wipe and clean. If you find on your project you just can't get rid of that black soot from the poster board, your power level might be a little bit too high, and try backing it off just a little bit. Here, let's take a closer look at this, see if we can get it in focus, and we can see just a faint image a little bit in between the glare off of the acrylic. And this faint image is all the more that we can hope for with our laser diode machines with clear acrylic. So I think this is going to look really neat. Putting the acrylic in the base and the big reveal, we turn that on, and that looks incredible. I love the way that turned out. We'll try changing the color on it to green. That really pops. This is a really cool project to make. The key points of success and enjoyment on this project is to make sure that you're using the correct cast acrylic, and then to do that test engraving grid to make sure that you've got the optimum settings for the materials that you're using and the machine that you have. And lastly, when placing that piece of aluminum or aluminum foil down on your table, it's very important to make sure that it is very flat. That way, when you place the poster board down on top of that, it's laying very flat. There's no air gaps or bumps underneath it. And the same goes for your piece of clear acrylic that goes on the poster board. That all needs to fit very tightly and very flat together. If there's any air pockets in there, especially in between the acrylic and the poster board, that will cause a change in the type of engraving that you'll get, and most likely it will be undesirable. Engraving acrylic with a laser diode, it can be done. Once you have your settings, it's actually really fun and definitely very rewarding. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider giving this video a like, subscribing to the channel, or ringing that notification bell. Doing any number of those things really helps this channel out by helping it grow. It also helps connect great content like this with great viewers like you. Until next time, learn, create, and share.